Well, do you remember the strike right after the Second World War?
Yeah,
You were home
I
at
just
the time?
got, oh yeah, I was.
That was in 46?
Well, that was terrible.
What now, what happened there?
Oh, I'll tell you, I thought I was back in the combat zone in World War again, because either they were destroying houses, they threw the furniture out the windows. Analysts lived there on, I don't know, it was Locust Street or Elm Street, right behind the Civic Center in that area, you know, there. Yeah, and they threw the piano out the second story, they run all the chickens' necks, and then
And though that family, why was that family a target?
because he was a scab. He was in behind the fence.
Well, wasn't some of the argument for that they had to keep the pumps going, or something to that effect?
That was that's the thing.
And the
But why didn't they, you know, then they finally woke up, and then what they did, they hired maintenance men. See? I went out on lots of times on maintenance. Be it down the mine, be it in the pit, changing pumps out, but they had composite crews, and you got paid, and it was okay, because they knew, the men knew that they were working for a living, and the people that were running the operation knew that they did not want another reoccurrence of what happened in the 34 strike with the pumps starting to flood, or another thing that happened in the 46 strike. You know, one kid got killed, you know.
What was that?
He got shot. They don't know. He was walking down the street, going down East Mercury Street, and somebody, they don't know who shot him. But it was all during all that. He got shot, he got killed. Was his name Godoni, wasn't it there?
I don't know, John.
But he got shot.
Well, how long did that strike go, that 46 strike?
Not too long. They threatened to bring in a missile guard, National Guard that time too. But it was, boy, you know, and a lot of it was not. You can't say they had to blame the union completely, because a lot of it was guys that just come back from the service that were not working for the Anaconda Company. They were roaming all over town, and it was something, I'll tell you.
And by then you were not in the miners' union, you were in the iron workers.
Well, not until after that.
Oh.
I didn't go to work till after that strike was over.
Okay.
But, I mean, my father, he just really, he couldn't see that at all.
See what?
The way they were doing that, you know. He said, you know, it's bad enough that, but the mothers and the kids didn't strike. They weren't scabs.
Yeah.
The husband was. But then on the other side of the coin, it says, well, then if you knew, why did you go in there and stay there?
Yeah.
I can always remember my Uncle Pete Kennedy was a shaft boss over the con. And there was another boss by the name of Parks, and he said to my Uncle Pete, he said, they asked you to stay? And he said, yeah. He said, they didn't ask me, and my Uncle Pete said, maybe they didn't want you. But he didn't stay either.
Well, what happened at the original garage? Did they invite some of their best miners back in and then ask them to work and then fire them or replace them? Do you remember something about that?
Yeah, I'll tell you what they did. They fired the bosses. Emmett Reagan, chief sampler at the Mountain Con Mine. Bill Bowden, assistant foreman of the Leonard Mine. Ed Sharon, shaft boss at the Leonard Mine. Where's he? That's true. Anyway, they came out in the 46 strike. You know what was so ironic about it? Emmett Reagan come out and his brother took his place. Well, when they come back after the strike, there was no place for them. But then all this construction was going to start. So they all became carpenters.
Oh, I see.
But Bill Bowden was assistant foreman, that job. And Emmett Reagan was the chief sampler at that Mountain Con Mine. They were big jobs.
And they didn't stay behind the fence?
No, they wouldn't stay. No. And they were, you know, but a lot of the guys that stayed, the minute it was over, they were on the trains out of here too.
Well, what do you think the big difference was? Your dad didn't like what he saw going on. What was the big difference between the 46 strike and the 34 strike from the workers?
Conditions. The mine at 34, they were striking for conditions. To get away, they wanted the 8 hours week. They wanted the 40-hour week, the 8-hour day. They wanted membership to union. They wanted that closed shop. You had to belong to the union to be able to work in the shops. This 46 strike, to me, was just, I don't know, the whole thing, that's when the CIO, the steel workers and the miners union were fighting each other for control of the union, and there was agitators in here, a lot of this stuff. The 34th strike, there was agitators here. In this 1917, when they brought in the National Guard, my dad says, you two people stop talking and them guards will be right there, move on. He said if you didn't move on, they'd give you a little jab with the bayonet in the arse. But I think the 46th strike was more agitated by people that had no concern about the strike whatsoever. Like I said, there was a lot of young guys that were just home from the service. There was a lot of, I know there was a lot of agitating, but there was a lot of politics in that 46th strike. But it got out of hand, something terrible, and I mean.
But what made it finally stop? Just people got worried, or?
Well, they settled it. They brought in, and they brought it, the two sides got together, and then they shut down the operation rather than, and them guys, there was no more scabs, and then they negotiated. They brought in the international men and everything. See, John L. Lewis used to try to run them. John L. Lewis, in 1934 strike, he was the one that didn't want them to go back. And that's when they kicked the AFML and kicked the CIO out. John L. Lewis was kicked out of the International Federation of Labor in the 34th strike. And there's another thing. The Butte miners never struck. From 1940 to 1946, they never struck. They worked every day. They worked without contracts and everything else.
During the war?
Yeah. John L. Lewis didn't. He pulled his coal miners out.
Yeah.
They had to pull him, take him out of his office, and the Army carried him out the door. But the thing is, when the war was over, then the Butte miners were so far behind the rest of the non-ferrous metal unions, they never caught up till the day it ended, till the hill went down. They never caught up with the rest of them.
Well, what strikes came after 46?
Oh,
what about the 59 strike? What about that?
Well, that was the big one. That was a 6-month one. That one.
What caused that?
No maintenance men in that one, but there was no. Before that strike, we worked 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. We put new fences all over this whole camp. That's where the Kelly was, Jay. The Kelly was never fenced in or nothing. We fenced it. I ate more dinners at the Mashwamigan Cafe than I ate in Butte at my own home. It was 7 days a week fencing.
You mean in anticipation of that strike?
Oh yeah, that's where we put all the fences up. That's when they also, after the 67 strike, that's when they tore all the wooden fences down and put up wire. You know why?
Why?
They didn't need watchmen no more. All you had to do, the people to see something going on, they call right up and say there's something's wrong in the yard over there. They didn't need, once they took down the wooden fences, they didn't need watchmen no more.
Well, now that 59 strike, a lot of people left Butte then.
That's it. I can tell you guys, Don David, one of my best friends and my hunting partner, he was a machinist. He was at the Badger when the strike started. He got a job at Western Iron, never came back. Jimmy Murphy was a boiler blacksmith over the con. He got a job with Gray Bar Electric. He never came back. A lot of guys never come back. A lot of people left here, never even came back to the top.
What happened over at the Mullen House?
Oh, that was gone then by then.
When did it shut down?
They tore it down. That was before the 59 strike.
Oh, was it?
They had so many miners working in the Mountain Con mine that the parking lot here, which is the Mullen Field in them days, was level with the street, you know. That was the parking lot.
Oh, okay.
And then they tore the Mullen House down, and then they brought in a bunch of housing units like they had down there on, do you remember the housing units on, where you turn them down Texas Avenue?